talking about vineyards.
Oh, I love talking about vineyards. That's all I do is talk about vineyards. My pleasure. We'll get to that site.
Absolutely.
Vineyard, man.
Great.
Yeah, we can.
Terry Schwarz from the Design Collaborative. We're part of Kent State, for those of you who don't know us. We're the outreach division for the College of Architecture. It's my job today to simply welcome you. We're glad you're here. And to give you just a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. First of all, I'd like to thank our sponsors. The sponsors of this event are the George Gund Foundation and also Regency Construction Services. And also we're grateful to the Sears Wetland Foundation and the American Planning Association Urban Design and Conservation Division, who've been supporting the work we've been doing relative to urban agriculture, and particularly this notion of the BioCellar. Today's program includes 3 speakers. One being Loria, who's a permaculture specialist for company CUDC Waterworks, and she's based here in Greater Cleveland. We also have Daryl Fry from Three Sisters Farm in Shady Lake, Pennsylvania. And then rounding out the program is Gary Tergalter of the Cleveland Urban Design Collaborative, talking about the work we've been doing in BioCellar design. So in order to kick off the program, we're going to start with Jean Loria. And Jean, if you want to talk a little bit maybe about a better introduction than I can give about the nature of your work. I met Jean, it had to be like 2 years ago now, when she came to one of the talks we did at Cleveland State, and raised this question about why when we're demolishing all these houses, why we aren't being strategic about the ways that we could reuse the foundations, these warm boxes left in the ground, rather than just hauling them from the landfill. Would there be ways of using them to enhance the local food economy and reinforce ecological systems? So Jean can talk a little bit more about that. Jean? Thanks.
Terry? Hi everybody, it's really nice to be here. It's nice to see some friends here that I haven't seen for a while, and I'm really curious to find out what your questions and comments will be about what we're talking about today. So, BioCellar is architecture plus biology to use microeconomic units. Solar energy is the driving force. I'm going to describe the BioCellar as a permaculture practice and focus on the bio in BioCellar. Daryl Frey, who'll be talking later, is a permaculture teacher, and his book BioShelter is about his permaculture farm. You will benefit from his considerable permaculture teaching experience when he does his presentation about BioShelters. For now, I'll offer part of the definition of permaculture. It's a holistic system of design based on direct observation of nature, learning from traditional knowledge, and the findings of modern science. That's everything from bacteriology to astronomy, and there's a real interest in sustainable cultures that have preceded us and the cultures that are here now. I completed a design course in 1986, and officially I would still be considered an apprentice, so I have to be one of the longest apprentices in the permaculture around. But that's okay, because it is a lifelong study. And if you're curious about it, I recommend it. One of the principles of permaculture is the problem is the solution. Vacant houses are everywhere, they are a problem. More than likely, everybody in this room either recycles or composts. That'd be probably a decent assumption to make. So we're familiar with the concept of taking a waste stream and cycling it back. So if you think of vacant houses deconstructed and reimagined by lifting a solar envelope over the pre-existing foundation, it becomes a potential solution to a problem. And potential solution for issues that have a lot, have to do with food and energy security, things that we're struggling with now to address, not just in Cleveland, but everywhere. Another permaculture principle is to obtain a yield from the landscape, get a product. And this is the microeconomic aspect of BioCellars. In the case of the BioCellar, the problem is the solution and get a product. Both of those things overlap. And that's another good thing in permaculture, so overlaps multiple functions. Ethics of permaculture are earth care, people care, fair share. It's pretty simple to remember. Earth care, people care, and fair share. The earth care, people care require at the very least that BioCellars are built and operated using sustainable organic practices and designed with nature's and ecological design principle that's really useful to keep in mind as we start thinking about transitioning from gray structures to green structure, from infrastructure to ecostructure. And for a BioCellar, we're literally designing with nature. Inside each BioCellar will be a constructed, directed ecosystem. It'll be by an engineering job to yield a product or products. It doesn't have to be a single product. And it doesn't have to be a product in just one agricultural product. There are many other services that we obtain from nature and that contribute to our culture. But the ecosystem must be diverse and draw from a species palette of organisms from all 5 kingdoms. Monocultures will not do the job. Why? Well, when our communities are fragmented by, for example, a vacancy epidemic, they lose their ability to self-organize. Likewise, ecosystems can become fragmented by disturbances to such an extent that they can't regenerate. The complex living systems assembled inside a BioCellar will have the capacity to self-organize and regulate, to self-repair and regenerate. And so these microcosmic and mesocosmic levels of the interior landscape of the BioCellar, they'll require less energy input to yield a product when you compare it to any kind of unsustainable conventional system. So that's probably about enough about microcosms and ecocosms and species palettes. You were probably thinking that a BioCellar could be a cool-looking greenhouse, sunroom kind of structure with a sauna in it or a cafe. Well, me too. And if this time we don't neglect to put plants inside to clean the air and make it smell nice, if we bother to invest in converting some of that sunlight into electricity to run the pumps that circulate the water, that support the habitat for the frogs and the fish, if we really get serious about local healthy food, and if we finally understand that children in all neighborhoods need the experience of nearby nature, as well as clean air and clean food and clean water, then our permaculture BioCellar practice takes seriously fair share and environmental justice. So I'd be happy to take any questions you might have or comments, and otherwise we'll go ahead and I'll be happy to introduce Derek.
Go over, did you already start planning
about it is if the architecture is kind of the hardware and the biotic environment inside is the software. Okay, say you have a particular interest in orchids, and maybe you might be interested in native terrestrial orchids, and you might want to sell them. So that has a lot to do, the central species that you're interested in has a lot to do with what other plants you might choose. Or if you want to grow salads and greens for market garden or basil, those are kind of the software for what goes inside. But the point is that when you put an ecosystem inside of a greenhouse, what you want to do is have active bacterial cultures that help break down. You need to produce compost. I mean, almost any agriculture endeavor requires soil. So you can use a BioCellar or a BioShelter to facilitate making products that do that. And the idea is to kind of shake it up a little bit. Get creative. There isn't one single set of plants. I mean, it wouldn't be difficult to come up with several sets of plants that were a good idea to start with. And along with them, maybe chickens in this situation or, fish in this situation. So there's that design part. And another principle of ecological design is that we are all designers. Everybody in the room is a designer. So there's a lot of flexibility. So the answer to the question is yes, we thought about some plants, and no, it's not a locked-in kind of thing.
Does this BioShelter exist, or is this somewhere we go see, or is this just that?
No, there is no BioCellar that we know of that exists. However, you will hear about structures soon that are essentially, the important thing here is we're talking about ecosystems. We need to start thinking about bigger cycles. And when I talk about using a directed, constructed ecosystem, this structure, if it's built on top of a house, the footprint is smaller. And living systems is designed by the Todd people at Ocean Arcs International. When they clean up sewage or something using a living system housed in a greenhouse, you have to stack functions for plants, and really, it's an intensive design process. So BioCellar would require that kind of